The purpose of this is just to get a quick overview of a visual image to attach to these articles, so that you will you carry with you to the floor of town meeting. We're not going to. This is not an in-depth site visit to any one of these places. It's a way to get a visual image to associate with the articles. We're going to go down. I think we can start now. Actually, we're going to go down Main Street and visit Amherst Media. There's a bus. There's a sidewalk change there. And we're going to go down Belchertown Road, and there are 73 easements on Belchertown Road. And we're not going to stop at each of those 73 easements, but we're going to go down Belchertown Road, and I'm going to tell you that there are easements off to either side. We're going to stop at the what is it called? East Street School, and that's on the way. And then we'll go out Belchertown Road to the dog park, future dog park site. And Dave Zomek, I guess, will meet us there. Then we're going to Amherst Woods, to Station Road, to Middle Street, to the 4 articles that are in the vicinity of Atkins Farm. Epstein property, the Cole property, West Bay Road, and the noise bylaw. And then we're going to take 116 back towards town, driving by East Hadley Road. There's a sidewalk project there. Groff Park, just to get for the spray park project there. That's just a conveyance that you don't really need to see it in order to know that we're conveying the land to leisure services. And then there's out Northampton Road, Route 9, towards the west, where there's a water main replacement. Then we're going to go out University Drive to North Maple and Meadow Street, and we're going to drive by 4 potential marijuana sites. Then we're going to Mill River Recreation Area to see the baseball fields and the basketball courts. Take Pine Street to Cushman to Market Hill Road and go up to Mr. Kaner's area where he proposes a rezoning based on 425 feet above sea level. And then we're going back to North Amherst Center, then south on North Pleasant Street to North Amherst Community Farm. There's an Article 12, there's an Article 12 proposal there. And then we're going to keep on North Pleasant to Eastman Lane, to East Pleasant, to Village Park. And finally, and after Village Park, we'll come home. That's the plan. We have lots of projects that don't really require more land, but they require construction easements in order to be able to build, to repave the Belchertown Road, for instance, and the sidewalks. You need to have temporary construction easements. Some of them do require permanent easements. None of them, we don't believe, we're told, will involve dollar expenditures. And here we're coming up to one of them, which is in front of it's where the Amherst Media site is. You can see the sign proclaiming their upcoming building, and that one will have a bus pull off there, and we need an easement to achieve that. Can you see that sign over there with the rendering in the front? I don't know exactly where it is. It is in the vicinity. The bus pull off is in front of the Amherst Media building. It's pretty much, I think, where the sign is. Can anybody correct me if I'm wrong?
We have Main Street easements, Part E. This is across from, let me see, this is where the Amherst Media building is proposed. And this is, as Mr. Mooring talks about it, kind of an article to clean up some paperwork. There was some inconsistencies, or I don't know if it was an error made there, and we need to clean up our easement there. You know, there's a retaining wall there and some seepage and other things, so I believe we did the work there a few years ago, and I think this easement would be to clean up that situation there.
Okay, we are coming to the East Amherst School, empty school that the Amherst Community Housing Trust. Do I have to hear that right? There's two housing trusts and I confuse them. But this, the old school is empty. It is in not very good condition. We're maintaining it just to keep it intact, we the town. The Amherst Community Housing Trust proposes to investigate the idea of putting some 20 some odd affordable housing units on this property. The property includes the school building, which you see, and then you go around behind there, and there's a large area which is used as a deep, sort of an informal playing field. There are a lot of potential problems here. The playing field is probably wet, and maybe wetland. This building is in not good condition, and it may or may not be suitable for conversion to housing. There's wetness here, so there's a lot of feasibility issues that are part of this. The proposal, the Housing Trust would like to, by this article, have the right to investigate the project, get the wetlands located, and get determine the feasibility of the project before they actually acquire title and move ahead with the project. So we're giving them the option. The article gives them the option to work on it for a while. I would like to introduce our Assistant Town Manager, and he will speak to several projects that we're about to see.
Great, good afternoon everybody. Happy spring. It was snowing out there a little bit ago. I'm going to need a little help. Thank you for the map, but I'm going to need a little help because I didn't bring my warrant with me. So maybe, well actually if you all could help me with numbers. Actually I would prefer, because I have so many handouts. I can get these, Chris. We'll start with the dog park, and then we'll go from there, but I have many handouts. The handouts were done before the articles were numbered, so that's why I might need your help. I'm not going to refer to numbers because I'll get confused, so I might refer more to projects, and then you can find them on your warrant. So let's start with, I am just going to hand out a map. I know you were just at the East Street School. I'm going to hand out a map of that property. If you have any questions about that article, I'd be happy to answer them. I don't know if John Hornick met you there or was on the bus. Okay. Well, this is a nice map of the East Street School property, a town property that includes both the school itself, frontage along the old historic East Common, and then it includes the recreation field out back. It's about 2.5 acres. So just so you have a map of the property itself, and I'm sure John and the trust will have more information for you at town meeting.
The East School project, I don't see any funds for the feasibility study. Were those already appropriated, or are we going to use the Affordable Housing Trust? Are they going to do it? It says the town council will be doing determining the feasibility.
I know that John Hornick may come in with a motion, a different motion there. But I will say this: the Housing Trust already has some funds to do feasibility work, wetlands work, and early architectural feasibility. Also on your warrant in the CPA article, I believe there's $150,000 for the Housing Trust. My understanding, although don't quote me on that, is some of that money would go toward feasibility for that site.
So here is Belchertown Road, and it will be resurfaced, I believe, by the state. It's not our project. To resurface it, our project is simply to acquire the construction easements to allow that to happen. And as I say, there are 73 of them. And I don't know where, there's a lot of them. Well, basically, they're to the left and to the right of Belchertown Road, all the way up to the Belchertown line. Question is, where do the easements start? They start right at the intersection with Southeast Street, and they go all the way to the Belchertown line. Pelham line, excuse me. Yeah, pretty much, yes. I made an effort to try to plot them on a map, but I gave up after about 40 of the easements. But they're just lots of little pieces of land, and big pieces of land. Imagine you have to resurface that sidewalk over there. Well, you got to be able to move your equipment around on that grassy knoll. So you get the approval to do construction on their property, and then when you're through doing the construction, you returned it the way it was, then the easement is eradicated. Temporary easement. There may be some permanent easements. I'm not sure whether they're all temporary. Well, that's Dave Zomack.
Belchertown Road sidewalk improvements. This is a project that, according to Mr. Mooring, has been on the transportation improvement plan for quite some years, and apparently it is getting some traction. So the proposal is to put new sidewalks on both sides of Route 9.
It's not resurfacing the road, just the sidewalk.
It would be partly resurfacing the road, as well as, you can see on page, Mr. Mooring didn't, second to last page, it's Pelham Road, Amherst Pelham, reconstruction, resurfacing, and related road work on Route 9. So it would be resurfacing. I don't know if this is a full resurface or a shim coat. I'm sure Mr. Mooring will have more on that at town meeting. But you can see the map takes us all the way from Harkness Road to the intersection at Southeast Street, Cumberland Farms in that area. So in terms of the dog park, if I'm not mistaken, is part of the CPA article, the first part of the CPA article. Again, I won't refer to numbers because I haven't memorized them. But the dog park task force has asked for $90,000 to create a dog park, and our preferred site for the dog park is right out the window here on the old capped landfill. The dog park task force has been working for probably about a year, looking at sites, looking at town-owned sites, looking at private sites, and we've landed on about an acre and a half or 2 acres right here in the corner of the old capped landfill. So I've been working with them on this. The $90,000 would pay for all of the environmental studies that we need to do on this property, as well as help with some of the match when we go out and try to get funds to build the park. So, sure. Let's see. Our goal here, as you know, we are developing a solar project across the street at the new landfill. So we've identified this small piece of the old landfill as a possible dog park. The old landfill is about 55 acres. As I said, we're going to be using 1.5 to 2 acres in a proposed dog park. The task force is getting ready to submit a application to the Stanton Foundation. This is a foundation in the Northeast that supports dog-related projects for communities all over Massachusetts and I believe New York. Agawam and some other communities have been very successful at getting money from the Stanton Foundation. They grant up to $225,000 for design and for construction. So my goal and the town's goal will be to try to incorporate the dog park into the future plans for the old landfill. Most of the landfill and most of what you see here will need to be set aside for a grassland bird reserve, because the old landfill is habitat for a very small sparrow called the grasshopper sparrow. So in order to develop solar at the new landfill, if you will, the north landfill, we need to designate most of this, and it will be fenced in area for the grasshopper sparrow. There will still be a trail along the far side, and then our goal is to put the dog park here. We do have some environmental studies, as I said, because this is over the cap of the landfill. We have to work very closely with DEP. So the dog park task force, as part of the 90,000, will have to hire someone to do. It's really kind of a reuse study. Is this safe to use for a dog park? we believe it is, or we wouldn't be proceeding. This is actually the location on the landfill that is a stump dump. So right out in front of you here, there is no trash. It's where all the organic material for many years that the town took down, trees and things of that sort, were put. So it's quite safe, we believe, but of course we have to meet all the DEP requirements. Yes. There's actually 45 in two categories, if I'm not mistaken. One is under recreation and one is under open space. We kind of consider a dog park a little bit of both. It is for outdoor recreation for those people with dogs. We already have, by the way, we already have a conceptual design. Peter Wells for Berkshire Design volunteered to do a conceptual design, and that design will submit to the Stanton Foundation probably this week. Yeah. So there's $90,000. Yeah, 45 in each pocket. By the way, the landfill that you're looking at out here will actually, as part of the project for solar, will actually need to have a conservation restriction on it, specifically for grassland bird preservation. So interesting project. Never been a part of one like this. There's a lot of moving parts.
On the solar stuff that was abandoned here, was that precluded from this dog park area? I kind of lost track of all the fighting over the solar here. Did that get barred from the entire 55 acres? Because it just strikes me, if we're fencing off another part for the preserve, why aren't we using the unfenced part for solar?
Great question. So why, if we're fencing off some of it for a dog park, why can't we use some of the rest of the old, we call this the old landfill south, if you will, the new landfill is north. They're both capped, they're both closed, we're not using them anymore. Why can't we use some of this for solar? It's a great question. There certainly was quite a bit of neighborhood opposition to solar on this site, and the project languished for quite a while. When we brought it back and took a finer look at it and really reached out to the state, both at DEP and the Natural Heritage Program, it became crystal clear that both landfills are priority habitat for the rare species. So what that means is that if you are going to take any of that habitat, meaning permanently change it so it is no longer habitat, you need to mitigate for that. You need to mitigate 2 to 1. Every acre you take here, you need to mitigate and create habitat somewhere else. So what became very clear in more recent study is that it would be a better approach, because there's less habitat at the new landfill, is to put solar on the new landfill. We still have to mitigate 2 to 1. So we have about, I'm going to say 15 to 20 acres of solar over there. That means we have 30 to 40 acres that we have to put in habitat. And in fact, the grasshopper sparrows have been seen most recently breeding here, not at the new landfill. So we need to set aside 40 plus acres here, a couple of acres here, a couple of acres for the trail that connects from Old Farm Road, where we are, over to Amherst Woods, and there's your 50 acres. So it actually, upon further study, in my opinion, it would have been very difficult for Amherst to put 50 acres of solar here anyway, because we don't have enough habitat to restore or protect or mitigate for at the new landfill. I don't think the state would have let us do it. So I think this plan has the highest probability of success, and the Natural Heritage Program has been very willing to work with us. So we are proceeding. Stephanie Ciccarello has been working around the clock to try to get solar at the new landfill, and we have a new developer called Lee. Their name is Lee Energy Group, and they already have designs, and we will be coming before permitting bodies later on this summer. So it is going to happen, solar at the new landfill.
So over on Bay Road, we're heading west, and you will be able to see the entrance to the Epstein property, where the entrance, the driveway that Cy and Alice used for years and years and years to get to their property. It will stay there, and it will give access to the house. that gives you an idea of where it is. I can personally tell you that it's just a lovely piece of property back there. Is that Dallas's driveway? I think so. Yeah. So that's, see the pond back there? You can see it. I can see the cattails anyway. It's gorgeous.
So the Epstein property in South Amherst is a property that the Conservation Commission is bringing before town meeting. It's been supported for acquisition preservation by the Commission and CPAC. The town already has applied for and received what's called a land grant for the Epstein property. The total purchase price is $270,000. The map is in front of you. The property is outlined in black. It includes the pond that Cy and Alice Epstein built back in the early 60s. It's a lovely property. You can see the rationale is that it is part, if you will, of the Mount Holyoke Range State Park, adjacent to land already conserved by the town and the state. There will be wonderful hiking trails on the property. Their house will be excluded from the property, and you can see that small 2.5 acre exclusion, which is around their house on the banks of the pond. So this has been already supported. As I said, we're asking for $113,000 in CPA funds. The remainder of the money will come from the state, and we already have that grant. So I think I'll stop there unless there are questions.
Okay. Question.
Yes.
Sorry, question. There are existing trails that provide like a little trolley line trail. These are state trails, but they're not on the map. Is that a suggestion that those trails are going to go away?
Oh, actually, no, not at all. When the map that you see before you is one we submitted as part of a packet to the state. I didn't bring the trails map. Sometimes when we layer upon layer all the resources, it gets a little confusing, but we'll have a better map for town meeting. In fact, this is one of the main rationales for buying the 30 acres of the Epstein's property, is to gain access to the old trolley line which connected Amherst with South Hadley and Holyoke. So that will be opened up. We will, if we acquire this, if town meeting supports this, we will acquire most of the old trolley line. I will say something came up at warrant review. Somebody asked how much of this land is developable, and I think there was a little bit of a misunderstanding. Not much of it is developable. That's why when you think 30 acres for $270,000, if you kind of do the math with Amherst values, there's really one flag lot. It's over on the eastern part of the property. You can see it to the east, if you will, of the house lot. So much of this land is not developable because it's either wetland or adjacent to the pond. So I just wanted to make that clear. It was brought up in the context of affordable housing. When we're looking at these projects, we're always looking to see if we can do a combination project of affordable housing and conservation. And we've done a couple of those in the past, and we'll try to do them in the future. The Cole property map you have in front of you, again, I haven't memorized numbers, but this is a project that is very near to the Epsteins. You may have seen it off of Route 116 at the double roundabout. If you're headed to South Hadley, on your left, there is a subdivision road already started there. It's kind of across from Country Corners Road. This was a property that we were originally hoping to buy for conservation, and through a number of discussions with Mr. Cole, we decided that that was not the option that was best, and Mr. Cole is going to proceed with about 8 house lots. As part of that, he's donating, instead of us buying, he's donating 6 acres of land to conservation. So this will provide another access point up onto the Mount Holyoke Range. So in red is the land that Mr. Cole is going to donate to the town free of charge. We need an access agreement off 116 in black. We need an easement over his subdivision road to pass and repass cars. There'll be a small, Mr. Cole is going to trailhead there for us. There'll be a 5-7 car parking lot there. So anyone from the public will be able to park there and go up on the Mount Holyoke Range right across from Atkins. So we went from buying the whole land to Mr. Cole putting in 6 or 8 houses. Again, those houses will be taxable and on the tax rolls, while at the same time we get 6 acres of conservation land at no cost. And he has agreed to donate the easement for the public to pass in cars, bicycles, by foot over his subdivision road. Pretty simple article. I think it's a win-win.
What is the reason that the area of the stream surrounded by green is not part of the donated land? I'm not trying to be over greedy, but it does seem like that's not really developable for him.
Are you speaking to the south of the subdivision road, or to the north?
To the north of the right part of the rectangle, there's a stream.
If you could point, I'm a little confused as to which. So everything in red.
Right here, over here.
Oh,
there's a stream outside the red.
yes, well,
area.
keep in mind, in a subdivision, there needs to be a certain minimum square footage in the lot. So those lots, there's 2 building lots there. Those lots will have houses on them, and they needed the square footage. Again, the stream will be protected by wetlands laws, so they can't do anything. The Conservation Commission has already said you must stay X number of feet away from those streams. But that's a good question, thank you.
Yeah, David, on the
Yes.
on the Epstein property,
Yes,
that's separated from the rest of the CPA articles. Is that because there's borrowing involved and it'll require 2/3?
yes, we always separate land acquisition out of the, why is the land acquisition article separate from the box, the list? And that is because there is potential borrowing. We're not proposing to borrow for that article, but land acquisition always has a 2/3 vote, and the other is just, I believe, a simple majority for the rest of the CPA articles. West Bay Road sidewalks, and there are maps to each of these. West Bay Road is again creating a wide sidewalk on the south side, as you can see on the map, on the south side of West Bay Road, to allow and enhance the access for people from Applewood, etc., Spencer Drive, Upper Orchard, to the village center at Atkins. So that's that.
It's also really important if you're getting off the bus, you don't have to be somebody at Applewood. If you're getting off that bus and you're trying to get to Hampshire, you just have to walk through the bushwhack, through the weeds.
Yes.
It's very dangerous, because there's no breakdown lane on that part of the road.
It's a very busy road, as folks know on West Bay Road. So we are doing Groff Park. So as you know, we will be, okay, you're not stopping at Groff Park. I'm sure you're all familiar with Groff Park off of Mill Lane. We are beginning in August, late August, maybe 1st of September. We're beginning the renovation of Groff Park with a new spray park, playground, and pavilions. Thanks to funding came through CPA. We also just received a $300,000 grant from the state on that, which was kind of a nice surprise. So we'll get going on this in the fall. In order for the state to give us that additional $300,000, the state needs something in return. They need a guarantee that the town isn't going to spend the $300,000 on the park and then 3 years from now, 5 years from now say, oh, we don't need Groff Park. So they require us to designate Groff Park for recreation purposes. And we've done this before at Mill River and Community Field. There's a little bit of a carrot, and then there's a little stick when you get a state, or this is it's a federal grant coming through the state. So they want Amherst to commit to Groff Park being used for recreation, and we don't change our minds a couple years from now. So. Yes, on April 24th at 7 p.m. at Crocker Farm School, we're having the kickoff public meeting on the Groff Park renovations. All are welcome. We'll have our designer, Peter Wells, is going to be there with his team from Berkshire Design, and we're looking, I know we've talked about this for a long time, but now we have all the funding, and we're ready to go. So we try to we tried to construct about 80% of it in 2018, finishing up in the early spring of 19, and have a grand opening ribbon cutting, say June 1st, before the spray park season in 2019. Easement on East Hadley Road. East Hadley Road is a CDBG project. We're trying to extend and enhance the sidewalk and create a multi-purpose path on East Hadley Road, so all residents of East Hadley Road have better access, in particular to the sidewalks on West Street, but also to the new spray park and all the amenities at Guelph Park. So this will be a multi-purpose path. We have the money through CDBG, and Mr. Mooring says it is ready to go, and design is well underway. So that's East Hadley Road.
This is water main replacement. We're riding over a water main that we're going to replace. And that's because I guess the state is going to resurface this road, and this is an opportunity to replace the water line which is under our tires right now. Or maybe not. What article is that? That is 16, Article 16. So the three sites on University Drive are the little brick building that's been empty for a long time. It looks like a branch bank, and rafters, and the hangar. Those are the three sites. The old hangar, which I believe is unoccupied now. Oh, that's it. I'm sorry. There's one of them. And Barry Roberts is up there on our right now, and there's the hangar. There's another one. And here's the third one on your left. Why don't, Van, you want to talk about your project, your proposal? Before we get there, if you have to get off. If you want to get off at Mill River. Okay, but still, it's a good time. It's a good time to do it. Now, you're not going to advocate, you're just going to describe.
The article I submitted was Article 34, and I'm going to adopt, my plan is to adopt language that the planning department has suggested, which is not what's written in the warrant currently. So it would not be changing the zoning map, but it would be requiring those that choose to build in that area to follow dimensional requirements of our LD zoning in this RO area. More important than that, really, is that the only relevant areas in town for this article are above 425 feet with elevation, which is the maximum height that our town water tower can currently supply water to. So it will be very expensive when the Market Hill Road, Flat Hills Road area, and part of East Leverett Road up high. Those areas above 425 feet would require a new water tower or pumping stations, both of which are very expensive things for the town. So my article is partly to delay the cost for that, or possibly eliminate it, by not allowing such dense development. I have a handout, which many of you have, which explains most of this. So if there are questions, I'm happy to try to answer them briefly. I could go on, but I'll stop there.
You also said that it's now outlying residence, or it's and it would be low. What's the difference between outlying residence and low density residence?
The difference between the RLD and RO is listed on the handout I gave you. The requirement for RO zoning is, the main difference is 3/4 acre lots are allowed, and RLD requires about 2 acre lots. So it's a large increase in the land allowed, the building allowed within a property. The frontage requirement is 150 feet for RO and 200 feet for RLD. So it's a way of limiting the development in these areas. So this is Flat Hills Road, which is we're now where currently town water and sewer can reach. I don't believe these houses have it, but on Henry Street they do have it. But at about halfway up this hill, we reach 425 feet. So your handout has a map. I have a bigger map here if you want to look at it. But the areas of town that are above 425 feet are both the south area of town on the Mount Holyoke Range, which is not relevant because that's already protected or in our LD zoning already. So we're only talking about this northeast corner of Amherst. There are 195 properties above this elevation. But with the new wording of my article, I'm trying to find out for sure, but I think the affected properties would be much less because it would only affect the properties that are big enough now to have another building lot on them, and then this would prevent some of that development from going on. And I'm trying to get in touch with neighbors that would be affected. I've talked to quite a few, but not all. So where we are now is beyond town water and sewer capability. Unless a new water tower was put in somewhere up here, we would need to get land and easements, and there's also bedrock, which Guilford Mooring, our superintendent of public works, said that the issues with sewering this area also would be bedrock issues, as opposed to Amherst Woods, which was just done where water was more the issue, wet ground. And that extension cost $4 million. This extension, I don't know what the cost would be, but it would be exacerbated by the fact that you can't have new sewer system without also providing water. Because if you have a sewer system, it takes the water away from the property, and if you have a drilled well, as we all do up here, that water disappears from the site, which is not good for recharging the groundwater. So one of the reasons I'm glad we're up here is I just wanted you to see the character of the neighborhood. We have farmland, even though we're way up in the hills. So there's a farm there, there's a farm over here with horses. This road and Market Hill Road have about 10 houses that are pre-1850. My mother did historical research on every one of them, and actually every house in Cushman. So if you want to know more about your house and you live around here, you could go to the Jones Library. That information is, her information is there. Oh, I'm sorry. So I'm not trying to advocate. If you have questions, so some of these properties would be affected by my article because if they have greater than 300 foot of frontage, then my article could restrict their ability to develop their property. You'll be told at town meeting about how this is a neighborhood issue and not a zoning issue. The developer of a property coming up was one of the reasons I presented this article. I want the article to be broader than just for this development, but it certainly put in our faces what is possible with RO zoning. So here is the top, here's the Flat Hills Road area with a nice view of certain days you can see Mount Toby, but way beyond there's a beautiful view right here. This property here on the left is vulnerable down the road to future development. The property being currently proposed to be developed is on the right here. This is called the Whirlwind Farm, owned by the Rooters, and the proposed development creates 7 lots at this property on the right. 4 of them along the road and 2 of them flag lots. So our neighbors felt this was not in keeping with the character of the neighborhood, and that it would then give sort of the character would change, and then this field plus another field up, a few other fields nearby would in the future be developed. There was a past 12 house proposal in this area. So that's the information. If you have questions, let me know. Thank you. Just one more detail is that one reason, it's not just the character of the neighborhood, but one reason the neighborhood is concerned is that we have septic and well issues in this area. 29% of Market Hill properties have failed septic systems, which is part of maintenance, but it's a sign of, oh, it's okay. So the other thing is the wells, we just don't know about the wells because people who have wells don't call the town when there's a problem because it's not the town's concern. They don't provide the water. So we have more well issues than the health department is aware of.
Acquisition of land and or easements, Harlow Drive and Rolling Ridge Road. Are you going to drive by that one or not? No. Okay. Okay, well, I got an easy map on that. Again, I have not memorized articles. I'm sure you all can find it. 22B, I'm told. So again, we hope this is a pretty simple article. It's a donation of land. These parcels are connect Rolling Ridge Road and Harlow Drive. They're non-buildable, if you will. They, I think, were intended to be a connector road between Harlow Drive and Rolling Ridge Road. For a number of years, Cinda Jones has been reminding me that she would like to donate these to the town, and we finally got it all together, and we are prepared to accept these from her. So this is a straight donation. This has been an informal trail for many years. Cinda's family has allowed people to pass and repass, but she would like them to be owned by the town. We also have water and or sewer or drainage infrastructure under these two parcels, as is often the case when you put in subdivisions. So we would very much like to control this in case we need to dig it up in the future and maintain that sewer line. So we think it's a pretty straightforward donation of two small parcels of land. I will say that this is something that Mr. Kustner many, many years ago brought to many boards and committees, and we're finally getting it done. So I think Rob will be happy about that, and the neighborhood, of course. Many people use that, I think, to cut through all the way to North Amherst Community Farm, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, everybody, we're heading down Pine Street, and just a little while on the left, you'll see a big open area, and that's the North Amherst Farm. They are asking for a grant of, I think it's 50,000. Does anybody have it on there? To remodel the farmhouse. Now you can't see the farmhouse. Here we are on the left. This is the farm. The farmhouse is on North Pleasant Street, and we'll go by it after we go to the Mill River Park. This whole project this whole area was supposed to turn into a housing development. This was around 2005. And a group of local people got together and raised money to buy the house from the Jekanowskis. And they gave us a break on it. And it's Simple Gifts Farm is the name of the farm. It's all natural food, and and there are, within a mile of the house, there are 10,000 people living. 10,000 people who have fairly easy access to the farm.
Mill River. About a year ago, we asked town meeting through the CPAC for $50,000 for money for a new basketball court. After further study, getting a few more engineering firms there, the recommendation came back that we really can't do a kind of a surface fix on that. It needs to be a deep, redo the whole thing. Subsurface work, there's a lot of moisture there, there's a lot of groundwater, and it's really about $100,000 job. So we're asking for $50,000 more for a total of $100,000 to redo the basketball courts there. If you go and see them, they have deep cracks, 2-inch cracks. It's kind of dangerous. Those are very well used. There's actually on Sunday mornings, if you're ever there, there's a very active basketball league that plays on Sunday mornings, as well as other times of the week. So yeah. Oh, baseball fields, yes. Amherst baseball, although this is certainly coming through, and with the support of the town, LSSC Commission has supported both the restoration of the basketball courts and the baseball fields. Again, baseball fields did get money a year ago. It just wasn't quite enough to finish what they call Mill 1. This would allow money for shade structures and some other improvements that they hope to get in the first phase of improvements. And we're really trying to, Mill River is 1972 era. We're really trying to bring it back to some of its original shine. It's a great place, as many of you know. If you live in North Amherst or spend any time there, I think it's our most highly used recreation area, bar none, in Amherst. So we're going to put in a new boiler and new filters for the pool using CPAC money, a new basketball court, and hopefully some new baseball improvements.
Coming up on North Simple Gifts Farm, and you see their new sales barn here, and right now is their old house built in 1830, and they've requested been recommended a grant of $130,000 for fixing it up. The farm itself is going to pay for remodeling the interior, and it's going to be used for farm workers.
Part C is East Pleasant Street Village Park. The town is proposing to create a sidewalk between Village Park Road and Olympia Drive. As you know, we now have both affordable housing and a new market rate housing on Olympia Drive, and we do not have a sidewalk for those people to get to and from. It will also create an easement and the ability for us to put in a bus stop on the west side of East Pleasant.
The sidewalk then would go from the bus stop all the way to Village Park?
Yes, it would go.
It would go from on Olympia Drive. It would go from the vicinity of the bus stop all the way to Olympia Oaks.
It would. This is on the East Pleasant frontage, so it would go from Olympia Drive to Village Park Road. Yes.
But it doesn't go east-west to. It doesn't get you from Village Park to the bus stop. It doesn't get you from Olympia Oaks.
Both of those already have sidewalks. Yes. Thank you so much. Any other questions? I hope that's been the 10-minute overview of 12 articles. So, good. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you, Dave.
Now if I could just remember to pick up the milk on the way home.
Thank you very much, and I want to thank Peggy and Mary and Chris, but especially Chris, for doing such a great job, and Pat and Alan, they were really, really instrumental in pulling this off, and and please hand in those evaluation forms, and again, thanks to TMCC, this is really a happening deal. All right.